And we are back. And Mr. Brendan Paddick, how are you this evening?
Hello, Pete. How you doing?
Number one, sir. Now, we go way back, really. We've known each other for quite some time. I remember when you were a young man out selling subscriptions for regional cable. And,
door to door.
Door to door. And that doesn't seem like that long ago, but boy, you have gone a long way since then. You are now the CEO of Columbus Cable. Am I correct in that?
Columbus Communications, that's right.
Communications, sorry. And you are obviously now in a position to have an opportunity to do some great things, and you are using that opportunity. You have contributed an enormous sum, and I mean, I've heard of some enormous sums brought to very good causes in the past, but $250,000 for the Team Broken Earth. That's amazing. That's big stuff.
Well, it's one of those unique opportunities where the staff and the employees and the owners of Columbus get to sort of support some homegrown talent in the form of the East Coast or the Eastern healthcare workers that have certainly more than done their share to step up to the plate in the aftermath of the tragic January 2010 earthquake that shook Haiti in such a profound way. And for some of your listeners, many of whom, would have fed me a lassie bun or a cup of tea as I went door to door back in 86 and 87, may know Columbus today is operating in about 25 countries down in the Caribbean and Central America. And as such, you can imagine we get asked to support local causes back in Newfoundland many, many times. And quite frankly, as you travel in countries like Nicaragua or Guatemala, Honduras, Costa Rica, Colombia, you name it, you see a lot of need. And last summer, we extended our network to our 25th country, being Haiti, and building a subsea fiber optic network. And the folks at Team Broken Earth, basically Dr. Andrews Fury, Jeremy Pridham, and Art Rideout, probably all of whom have been on your show, reached out to us, and this was sort of a marriage made in heaven, where we could basically support a cause that made a big difference in one of the countries in which we operated, yet had this great tie back to where many of our employees' hearts are and home, and that would be Newfoundland and Labrador. So
your worlds are colliding in a sense.
Basically, yeah. So it was a great opportunity.
Now, you joined the team back, I think it was in July last year, is that right?
Yeah, last July.
And how long were you there, and what did you see?
I was there 3 or 4 days. I saw a lifetime worth of hurt. It's not even really comprehensible to anyone who's not in the medical community what the needs are in Haiti. I mean, this is, in a layman's terms, this is like MASH on steroids, from those that used to watch Jamie Farr and Alan Alda and the crew with Hawkeye and the likes. Very basic medical care. And the Team Broken Earth crew, who have, I think, done 8 missions now, and each of those missions, ranges from 20 to 30 sort of medical practitioners have gone down there, and they are basically, performing on a pro bono basis on their vacations, medical procedures and services and teaching and training and transfer of knowledge in one of the most caring, compassionate, sort of unselfishly giving type way that is only, attributable to the Newfoundland spirit that's so common wherever you go in the world. But it's the needs are so huge. I mean, to put it in perspective, this is the main hospital where they do this, the Bernard Mebs Hospital, does not have clean drinking water. So when the group from Newfoundland, or even the patients or the workers at the hospital, need to get a shower in the morning, they close their eyes, plug their ears, don't breathe in, and the shower is more of a feeling than it is a cleansing process. And when you said that Columbus and its partners are contributing a significant amount of money, that's our project for next year. Is we want to figure out a way to bring fresh, clean drinking water, so that not only can the doctors that volunteer at the hospital have the simple treat of a shower, but the patients can basically heal when after their procedures, because one of the big problems is they get this great care from the Eastern healthcare workers, but they may go home, or they may be hospitalized for a week or two, and there's no clean water. So the aftercare is a very difficult part of the process.
It's amazing, that I know when this terrible tragedy happened, it's some time ago now, and it had such a focus worldwide, and so much was raised and sent, and yet you hear how dire things still are. Did it surprise you to see how much is left to be done still?
There was a couple of sort of shocking things, I guess, and sort of Andrew and Jeremy and Art and other doctors that Frank O'Day and Ian Marshall, Dave Pace, Lisa McMahon, and others. They make an immediate impact, but what's needed is sort of a sustainable difference or a sustainable impact. And, their junkets, although very generous of a week at a time, you're talking a country of millions and millions of people in need. It's tough. I can tell you one little story if you've got time to get a sense of what happens. And, what tends to happen whenever there's a natural disaster, whether it's a tsunami or an earthquake or, a flood or whatever might happen, is that, people's hearts speak very loudly and quickly, and an outpour of well wishes and money and equipment and such pours into a country. And one morning, Art Rideout and Andrew Fury and I got a UN escort because it's still very violent in this country. And I wouldn't say it's completely lawless, but it's pretty close. So the UN took us to this warehouse where the University of Maryland had said to Andrew, we were in working a few weeks ago, and we thought we saw some surgical equipment back there, and if there's anything you can use in the warehouse, help yourself. So the day I had gotten to Haiti, Frank Noel, who's an orthopedic surgeon, was sitting in one of the rooms at the hospital, sawing off with a hacksaw stainless steel screws to the exact millimeter to build an orthopedic kit, so that when someone came in with a break in an arm or a leg and needed a plate with screws, they had the right size depending on the purpose. So he's there. This is a very skilled, what in Canada would be expensive doctor who's now, hacksawing off screws. Well, when Art and Andrew and I went to this warehouse, I bet you we found 40 complete kits.
Wow.
Of screws, plates, all the different equipment that goes with it. And I asked, because we were trying to figure out, how can Columbus help? What could we buy? What could we donate? How much one of these kits was? And Andrew's reply was, depending on whether it was a pediatric kit for children or an adult's orthopedic kit, anywhere from $7,000 to $12,000. Wow. So here's, dozens of these kits sitting there that nobody had any idea.
Just misplaced? Just
so much happens so fast to inventory it and catalog it and just have access to it on a timely manner when, the need is there. And, of course, there'd be dozens of hospitals in Haiti, so this is just one of them where Team Broken Earth goes. So it's no one's fault. It's just, it's
just overwhelmed with the bedlam and everything happening at the time, and stuff like that happens, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there were probably hundreds of thousands of gallons of IV fluid being air conditioned in this warehouse where nobody needs IV fluid right now, or doesn't need that much, So it just gets overcompensated, and literally tractor trailer loads of equipment and supplies show up in the week after the disaster, and it's just not administered post that. And, it's no one's fault.
Did you find the enormity of the task ahead set you back a little bit?
I got to do what most lay people don't get to do, which is spend 3 or 4 days in surgery, and I won't say too much more because my friends who let me do it, I don't want to get them in trouble. But I don't even know how you describe what these people do, or the sort of diseases or the ailments or the procedures that you see needed done, which would be so typical in Newfoundland. Like Art Rideout, who's a plastic surgeon or restorative surgeon, does cleft palates. And in Canada, the cleft palate would be identified at birth, and probably 2 or 3 surgeries or however many it takes by the time, the kid is 1 or 2. And when they go to school, no one even knows it happened. Down here, they're, 10, 12 years old and have never been addressed, sort of thing. So it's not just earthquake related. It's just healthcare system related. So, and to see the sort of compassion that people like Sonia McDonald, who's an anesthesiologist, has with little kids to calm them down who are obviously frightened, or to see how much faith the Haiti people put in the Newfoundland Eastern healthcare workers. These people are angels to them, and they check their humility at the door and just want to be helped and don't care what it takes. And just to put it in perspective, we had one girl came in who was a stab victim, and Dr. Pace and Andrew basically operated on her and found that her bowels were pierced, and they basically solved that, and she would have died from that stab wound. 2 hours after an operation, and this is where she's open from basically the bottom of her breastbone to her belly button. Pretty big cut. She's on her cell phone talking to her mother on 2 Advil. Now, if that was you or I, we'd be reaching for our morphine clicker pretty quick when our eyes opened, So, the pain tolerance and I guess to some extent the lack of exposure to modern medicine has, really created a very fit race. These are the survival of the fittest. And the resilience of their bodies to recoup from a pretty invasive procedure is really, eye-opening.
Brendan, I really wish we had more time. This is a fascinating story and a great thing that's happening here. And we know that Dr. Fury was honored by the MUM Alumni Awards there last year, and rightfully so. He's been able to bring a lot of attention to it. You're bringing a lot of attention to it, and I'm sure even though there's so much to do, that $500,000 they raised, $250,000 of it coming from yourself and Columbus Communications, is going to go some way to helping a lot of people. You've always been a passionate Newfoundlander and done a lot of good for a lot of Newfoundlanders, especially in the arts and all kinds of other areas, and we're really proud that you're continuing on this legacy that Newfoundlanders have of doing what they can where they can, and I thank you and I wish you all the best for this
Pete,
and everything
anytime.
else.
Always good fun to talk to my ex-fishing buddy up on the Labrador, and it might be $250,000, but the fact of the matter is 250 cents can make a difference. And if your listeners go to brokenearth.ca and hit the contribute button and give their spare change, it all helps, and it's really needed.
All the best. Now go enjoy that hockey game.
Okay, go Habs.